How do you feel about estate sales that don't price the individual items and say just to make an offer? That is not my favorite way of doing things. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and one of my sons and I headed down to an estate sale this morning. There was nothing in the 52 pictures that looked promising or that I wanted. But there were 3 sewing machines, and we had the morning free, and so we decided to go take a look. And I am glad we did because, spoiler, you read the title of this video, I have a haul to show you. The first thing that caught my eye was this tub of fabric on the floor of the garage, and this right here on top. I have a quilt I want to make that I need a half yard of something like this. I prefer blue, but this would work. And so I looked. These are good size cuts of fabric. I absolutely love that one. It's Joann's, it's craft store stuff. I just went through these first few big cuts, went, this looks tempting. And that was my first clue that pricing was going to be not obvious. There's enough in here that looks tempting that I carried it out to the driveway and asked about a price because I didn't know if they were selling it by the piece, by the yard, by the tub. I've seen it done all of those ways over the years. As I was standing there in the driveway with the bin of fabric, I watched her sell a box of original strawberry shortcake dolls for 20 bucks. So that gave me a hunch that the prices might not be terrible. But there is such a widespread, especially if you're looking at old sewing stuff, of what people think it is worth, that I was still pretty hesitant. The kitchen was a kitchen. The house was probably 1980s, 1990s. A lot of the contents of the house were that. There were a few antiques sprinkled here and there. And on one of the tables in the living room was a box. These are one of those things that people could want a dime, people could want $1, people could be giving them away. And I have so many of them already. I'll be honest, I can't remember what I have. I know I don't have these little pixies. I know I did at one time have these, but I don't know where they are. So if the price was right, I was going to add a few more to my collection. So I got the pixies, the hillbillies. This one is a baby quilt. This one is Santa and his reindeer. I have done the Scotty dogs with the basket. I would love to do it again and do all of these as a quilt for myself. So I had a little conservative stack, and I was going to see what the prices were going to be. And then I saw these. These are pre-printed blocks to embroider for baby quilts. They're all different. At least I think they're all different. I'm not looking at them a second time as I hold them up. So I took them out and asked her how much she was thinking on each of these. She asked me if I thought $1 was fair. And that was my first real hint that, okay, these prices might not be bad. I'd willingly pay $1 each for these. I might not have paid $1 each for all of these. But I went back inside and I grabbed up the rest of the Aunt Martha's. These are kind of hit or miss because what is in the envelope might not be what is pictured on the outside. The lines might have faded from time or being exposed to heat. No, I am not storing these in my attic. There's a whole lot that can go wrong with these. So if you're buying them at a thrift store or estate sale, just have it in the back of your head. You might not be getting exactly what you think you're getting. I've got a whole video on tips of how to work with these, and I will put that in the description. And then I found this. This is a pad of tracing paper. Every single sheet on this pad is traced with embroidery patterns. This was coming home with me. And I got some books of sunbonnets too. These are, I did not realize at the time that these are both identical, but that's fine. I can put one at the freebie table at Quilt Group. I don't know what's in here. It's patterns for something. I have a sort of vague maybe idea what I can do with this globe panel. The colors aren't quite my favorite, but I knew it was going to bug me if I left it behind, and if the price was right, it made sense. I don't know what this is. It has teeth, so dinosaur? I mean, it has to be a dinosaur, right? Oh, there are two of them. They are, I had a hunch it was a stuffed animal panel. There are two of them. And I bet that you could use him for applique on the center of a quilt. I have a whole ton and a half of green fabric scraps. So I think that's his destiny. And then I saw these. These are pre-printed for quilt blocks. I only glanced at a couple and went, yep, that is coming home. They're little girls in traditional costumes from around the world. My great-grandma had done with liquid embroidery a ton of little girls in different national costumes, and nobody knows where they went. I know that when I was a kid, we cut several of them, cut out around the lines and made little dolls and stuffed them. I remember the afternoon we did it. My mom remembers the afternoon we did it. And neither of us thinks we ever saw them again. So I have been looking for 20 years now to try to find out what pattern she used. I can't find it. We think it might have been a coloring book. It definitely was not these. But these are definitely cuter than what I remember, and I am happy to have them as a substitute. And I guess this is just more of that blank canvas fabric that they used. So these alone, I am super giddy. These would have made the sale worth it. I will go through them all and see if it is worth doing like a flip through video. If you're interested in watching that, let me know. And then these are more farm animals. We went to an estate sale, I think it was last year, and they had just an unbelievable ton of these embroidery panels. They wanted $2 a piece for them, and somebody had written the name of the pattern across each of them with Sharpie. That's why I always wonder, okay, what are the prices going to be? Are the sellers using the same logic I am? Sometimes they're trying to get money out of it. Sometimes they're trying to just get the stuff off the property. And I guess this was a get the stuff off the property kind of sale. This guy was in the garage laying among the tools, and I've been wanting an old vintage paper skeleton. I am break him if I try to unfold him while I'm filming. This, he's not quite what I want, but if I figure that I'm putting him in with other stuff, he's really cheap, and I can hang him on the wall here in my attic, and when I get a better one or something I like more, I can replace him. I also have a skeleton project in mind that he might be a decent template to use for that. There were stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of yellow legal pads. I am loving these things lately. I got a bunch of them at an estate sale where they were giving away all of the books for free. And ever since, I have been using them to jot pattern notes, project notes, scripting for videos. And ever since then, since I'm using them so much, I just pick them up when I find them dirt cheap at an estate sale because they want to be rid of them. They're cheaper than buying them at the store, and I've noticed since I have so many from the estate sales, I'm a lot better at writing stuff down and less stingy about wasting paper. How I can be stingy about wasting paper, I don't know, because the world is full of paper, but it's a thing. Also lots of graph paper, so for cross-stitching, quilting, I don't know how many pads of that. And again, I have graph paper, I'm just always worried about wasting it. This is a holder for the little pads. I like this. This is going in my travel sewing bag so I can jot down notes and not squish my notepads. I found an apron in the style that my grandma used to make. I don't wear aprons. I know I should, but I don't. And this is cute and it's like grandma had, and maybe I can train myself to use it so I don't slosh stuff on my front while I'm hand washing dishes. And in the bedroom, there was no craft room. The craft stuff was just kind of here and there and not in an I worked in every room of the house sort of way, like a we found this in the attic and didn't know where to put it sort of way. Look at the curtains. I am not a massive fan of geese, but I have been wanting to make some lingerie bags and project bags out of lace, and I love the texture of this top section. And I was putting together a box to make an offer on anyway. Now, why didn't I get all of the curtains? I do not know. Because really, for putting in a zipper and using them for lingerie bags for the laundry, these would be good because I don't have to be as precious about them as I do about the real lace because they're geese. That would make sense, right? And someone, after I did the video about all of the embroidery I found at that other estate sale, suggested using pillowcases to store quilts in. So I was originally picking out some of these to embroider on, and then I remembered her comment and I bought all of the ones that were in neutral, nice colors. They're cotton poly blend. They're like new. Thank you for telling me I needed these. Got another Sunbonnet Subuk. There was one in here that caught my eye. She was like standing on a stool and reaching up. But of course, now flipping through, I can't find it. And it doesn't matter that I can't find it before I film the video because it's home with me. It's in my sewing stuff. I will sit down and I will look through all of these, but I'm going to look through those little girls and their costumes first. Then they had a whole stack of quilt magazines, and American Patchwork and Quilting was my favorite magazine. I would pick it up every month at the checkout stand. My friend Joe from Joe's Country Junction was frequently on the cover, so I would be in the grocery store, look at that and go, oh, Joe's got this month's quilt. And then at some point, I stopped buying them. Circumstances, can't remember exactly what the circumstances were, possibly having too many quilt magazines. So I never got this one. It's hers. I thought this one might be hers, but it turns out it's not. And I just went through and grabbed a bunch that I know I don't have. Got some books of quick quilting because I have got all of that fabric from that haul last year, and quick quilts are what I need to use that up and get them donated. So do I go through and just pull out the quilts I want and put them in sleeve protectors and binders, or do I keep the whole magazines? That is a whole different discussion for a whole different video. Found a needled stapler. We can't seem to get it to work, so I'm going to turn the boys loose with Google, and I bet they will figure it out for me. If they don't, I bet their dad will. I know my husband will. My husband, their dad, the love of my life. Same thing. I've been wanting a cute little hammer for hanging pictures, so grabbed a hammer out of the garage. And while I was doing all of that, my son who was with me was going through the record albums. He has been on a quest for, quote, something to play records on. Finally found an affordable record player at the thrift store, and when we went down to the Friends of the Library bookstore, because they have had box sets of records for $1 for years, they threw them all away last week because nobody wants records anymore. And that is what estate sales are for. So hidden in the garage, they had records. I don't quite understand the goal here. It's not like he's looking for records by specific artists. He's looking for something he recognizes and wants to listen to. How that translates into Verdi operas, I do not know. Whoever this was had subscribed to the Time Life Western Music series, and they hadn't even opened most of these. I'm not into music. I listen to music. I'm happy to listen to whatever my husband or kids are listening to. If I'm left to my own devices, I will put on oldies or 80s rock, and I don't know who any of the artists are. I don't know the names of any of the songs. I just enjoy the background noise. So yes, I sort of kind of know who Hank Williams is, not well enough to explain it to my kid. And the obvious did not occur to me. I also forgot that there was Hank Williams and Hank Williams Jr., so I was probably thinking of entirely the wrong thing. We got American military marches. I do not know who Bob Wells is. He got duets. He got the women, because maybe the women don't get their own box sets. It'll be interesting to see who's in this. Didn't think to compare Hank Williams to Johnny Cash, but he knows he likes Johnny Cash. Sorry, these are plastic and super reflective, so you're going to see the attic mess. And I know Flat and Scruggs because I know the Beverly Hillbillies theme, and I know I like their other stuff. I just don't know the names of any of it. So he got 7 box sets of albums along with 3 cassettes to see if the cassette player works, because I know there have to be cassette tapes in this house. I would be hard pressed to find one, and if I did find one, it would be some kind of grammar songs from our early years of homeschooling. So Frank Sinatra Christmas is probably a great improvement over that. That's everything we got. What do you think would be a fair price to offer for all of that? I hate doing math like that, because if there are several big objects, you can add them up and come up with, okay, this is what I'm willing to spend. But when it's iron-on transfers and little things, how do you calculate it? I offered 30, she countered at 40, and then without my complaining worked her way down to 35, because I probably would have paid the 40. I figure if I paid 10 for the records, and at $1 a record, we're close to that. That's 25 for all of my fabric and transfers, and I can live with that. I can be happy with that. Honestly, I'm not sure what I would have paid for all of these little girls in their gorgeous costumes. This is the big find that I am in love with. And I absolutely would have paid 10 for these, maybe 15, I don't know. For an estate sale that I didn't think would have anything at all I wanted, I did pretty good. I'm happy with what I found. Let me know if you're curious about the little girls and if I should do a video of what they are. Otherwise, I'll probably pick out just a couple of my favorites and hold them up in the next floss tube video. It is hot in this attic today. It is supposed to get up to 100 degrees outside. I don't know what it is in here right now. Probably not as bad as I think it is, but I'm going to go downstairs and edit this and put my hot iron transfer somewhere where the heat won't get to them. The records too. I'll be back with more videos soon. Thanks for watching. This is the one that caught my eye. It was Sue hurrying to get up on that chair, and I didn't look at the other page to see him and the mouse. I thought she was fleeing a spider or something. This is adorable. I need to make this. I might make it a spider though.